Hello, everyone, and welcome back. This is our second to last show in the captain's quarters, and we're starting to worry we're just not going to get to everything we wanted to get to. For example, I wanted to do a whole new book bit where I would take a book and replace the bird in the title with thornbirds. For example, To Kill a Mockingbird would appear behind me and then later would mysteriously change to Kill a Thornbird. I think that would have been amazing, but we didn't have time. I also hope that by not cutting my hair for 6 months, it would magically transform into Steph hair from Pretty in Pink, but instead, it seems to be trending towards summertime Steve Bannon. You know, point broke over there. Utah, give me 10. But one thing we did promise you was a B plot, wherein the sea captain faces off with his nemesis, a giant ghost lobster. And since we have never broken a promise to you, here it is, for your enjoyment, that exciting action sequence.
The time for reckoning is now.
Release me, foul beast!
20 seconds until he drags you into a watery grave, sea captain!
Quick, Ira, throw me that spoon!
Right away, Sea Captain.
Steve, give me that weird egg with the lighthouse on it!
You got it, Sea Captain.
Vicky, toss me that wooden buoy!
The mermaid's name is Vicky.
We never established it wasn't! Oh, hey, that reminds me of a joke.
We don't have time for this, Sea Captain.
Well, maybe if your stupid closer looks weren't so long, we would have time for it.
Maybe they wouldn't be so long if you didn't interrupt so often.
10 seconds, Sea Captain!
Do you want to hear the joke or not?
Fine.
Okay, what do you call a mythical sea creature at her best friend's wedding?
Is it a mermaid of honor?
No! Okay, yes, it actually, you got it.
Sea Captain!
Watch MacGruber on Peacock.
Sometime next year.
And speaking of explosions,
Segway plug!
the president...
Oh, hey Seth, if we're plugging stuff, I have a new podcast. It's called Duck and Cover because, I'm a duck and it covers my take on world events. Just my musings and whatnot.
You're really throwing the brakes on the momentum here, Ira.
Oh, okay, so I can't plug my projects. Okay, that's really helpful to know. Thank you.
What can I say? I'm going to miss these guys. The president and Fox News are desperately trying to distract from the Democratic National Convention. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. Donald Trump has been trying to counter-program the DNC with his own campaign events. And look, whatever you want to say about Trump, like he's an incompetent, grifting, sociopathic golf ogre, at least he's also a terrible campaigner. He's been trying to win over voters he condescendingly refers to as suburban housewives with some bald-faced racism. And in Wisconsin on Monday, he took another shot at wooing that key voting bloc by continuing to insult them.
But this is the future that Joe Biden plans to bring to every city, town, and suburb in our nation. And for those suburbs, I keep hearing about suburban women. I made the... Well, in one speech recently, I called you suburban housewives, and they all loved it. But when I got, they said, "Sir, I don't know if that's politically correct." I said, "Don't worry about it. They'll get over it, right?"
He's a political mastermind, folks. Some people think he's playing three-dimensional chess, but I think he's playing Chutes and Ladders, all Shoots edition. I hope the Trump campaign is already printing up their new lawn signs. Trump 2020, you'll get over it. It's amazing. He even insults voters he's trying to win over. He can't help himself.
And what's up with the evangelicals? Are these guys weird or what? I mean, if Jesus is hiding inside that little cracker, why were they? Don't eat Jesus. Don't worry. They'll get over it.
And then Trump whined that because he was investigated for Russian collusion, he should get a third term.
We're going to win the state of Wisconsin, and we are going to win 4 more years. And then after that, we'll go for another 4 years because, you know what, they spied on my campaign. We should get a redo of 4 years.
You're still on that? Man, when it comes to getting over it, he is no suburban housewife. And even when he's pretending to be a politician, he can't shake his loan shark DNA. The interest is 100%, but let's make it 200% because I saw you looking at my girlfriend. How about that? The only redo anyone is getting is us listening to you bitch about an election you won. But yeah, I'm sure he'll be laid back and cool if he loses.
I may be a terrible winner, Joe, but I'm an exceptional loser. Congratulations, President Biden.
In fact, a day after Trump whined about the Russia probe, we got definitive evidence that his campaign did collude with Russian intelligence from a Republican-led Senate Intelligence Committee.
A newly released Senate report, Natalie, raising more red flags about the relationship between the 2016 Trump campaign and Russia. According to the Senate Intelligence Committee, former campaign chairman Paul Manafort employed a Russian intelligence officer named Konstantin Kilimnik and briefed Kilimnik on the campaign strategy for beating Hillary Clinton. The report also says Manafort might have had a connection to Russian hack and leak operations.
That's right, the Russian investigation is back, baby. Remember that whole plot line from a few seasons ago when we all got to know and love crazy characters like Paul Manafort, Felix Sater, Konstantin Kilimnik, George Papadopoulos, and Sam Clovis? You remember Hogan Zeros? Well, they're back in the news now that Senate Intelligence Committee has released the final volume of its Russia report with the shocking finding that Trump campaign manager Paul Manafort shared internal campaign polling data with a Russian intelligence officer who may well have been involved in the hacking. This is as definitive as it gets. Collusion happened, and the worst part is no one cares because it's old news. It's like finding out now that the characters on Lost really did die in the plane crash. Huh, so the island was purgatory. Okay. Also, I just want to say to the Senate and Robert Mueller and everyone else involved in the Russia investigation, way to slow walk it, fellas. Couldn't have released definitive proof of a criminal conspiracy to cheat in the 2016 election before Trump botched a deadly pandemic that left the nation in ruins. I can't wait until August 2022 when the Senate announces that yes, Trump did burn all the mail-in ballots from blue states the day before the election. Trump cheated in 2016 just like he's trying to cheat now, this time by trying to subvert mail-in voting and sow chaos and confusion. Once again, for example, he repeated a bunch of insane lies about non-existent voter fraud.
If you go with this universal mail-in where you send millions of votes, in California, tens of millions of ballots being sent to everybody and their dogs, okay? Right. The dogs are getting them, okay? People that have been dead for 25 years are getting them. You have to see what's happening. Then you're never going to have a fair election. Right. I say this, you're never going to have a fair election.
And it's worse than you think, people, because one dog vote, I don't need to tell you, counts as much as 7 human votes.
Also, you're complaining about people who've been dead for 25 years getting ballots. Look, I don't like them either. But Rudy has just as much of a right to vote as anyone else. I vote for more soup. And does he really think dogs are getting ballots? Like, how does he think that works? Like, you'd get an envelope at your house from your local board of elections addressed to Rusty, and you'd go inside and you'd say, Rusty, buddy, you got some mail. And then he'd come over and just put it in his mouth. And then he would take it into the kitchen, sit down, grab a pen, fill it out, stamp it with his palm. Then he would put it back in the mail, I guess. And then it gets to the county registrar, and they take a look at it, and they check Rusty's name to, the name and the registration, and they say, oh, looks good to me. And then Rusty gets on the phone and calls Joe Biden and says, it's done. And then Joe Biden says, good boy. Just as it was in 2016, Trump's strategy in 2020 is not to win the most votes, but to cheat. Democrats, meanwhile, have been focused on their own convention. There have been some memorable moments, from Bernie's speech in front of the National Strategic Firewood Reserve to Michelle Obama's powerful address to the guy from Rhode Island apparently holding a plate of calamari hostage. Give us the money or you'll never see this plate of fried squid again. Although I have to ask, what was the obsessive focus on Republicans about? I mean, who cares what Meg Whitman and John Kasich think? You do know they can't even get Republicans to listen to them, right? Kasich's speech looked like a commercial for TD Ameritrade. Down this path is a lifetime of debt. Down this path is a secure retirement. Outside of that, the convention has featured inspiring stories of activists, everyday Americans, essential workers, and some of the party's most talented rising stars, so Fox News was desperate to counter-program it. Here's what Sean Hannity told his viewers last night.
It was boring, it was awkward, it was disjointed. All you got was a temper tantrum, bumper stickers, slogans about pretty much how much they hate Donald Trump, and behind the hatred of him is a hatred of we, smelly, Walmart shopper, Trump supporters.
Oh, we? Sean, so you're one of the so-called smelly Walmart shoppers when you're done with your $1 million cable news gig in Manhattan? I'm sure you're swinging by the local Walmart to pick up some grass seed and hair wax, maybe some Kyle Busch pajamas for the kids, please. If your driver accidentally went by a Walmart, you'd be screaming at him to lock the doors. Also, no one called them that. You called them that. If anything, you just revealed what you think of Trump supporters. Smelly, Walmart, shopping Trump supporters, and I mean Trump supporters just stink, am I right? They're rank, probably because they're stupid. If you gave a Trump supporter a bar of soap, they'd cut it in half and put it on their toast. Ha ha! Smelly, stupid Trump supporters. That's us. Right, guys? These guys are such cheesy scam artists. Their whole shtick is pretending to be everyman populist when in reality they're trying to use you as cannon fodder to rev up the economy while they sit safely ensconced in the White House or their studios with their million-dollar contracts. Meanwhile, their guy is trailing badly in the polls, and if he loses, we'll just have to tell them to
Get over it, right?
This has been a closer look. Now more than ever, City Harvest needs your help feeding New York families hit by the COVID crisis. If you're watching this online, you can hit the donate button. Stay safe, wash your hands, wear a mask. We love you.